What attracted me? Actually nothing. Trust is really important in shipping. It's not just one-off call to fix a vessel, it's an ongoing relationship with your client. The problem was not the knowledge. The problem was that there was a lack of system supporting continuous training. You can buy the best systems. People will not use them properly. They might use them because they have to. Don't be one of the boys. Be yourself. If there's no opportunity, create the opportunity.
Welcome to another episode of Women in Ports. I'm really excited today to have our guest, who is the Head of Education and Training at the Institute of Chartered Shipbrokers, Nassia Katroutsou. So welcome, Nassia. Really excited you're here and to impart with your knowledge today. So it'd be really great if the audience can start off with your journey, how you've joined this industry and how you began your career in shipping roles from chartering and post-fixture operations to Panamax desk operations. What first attracted you to the industry?
Well, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here. What attracted me? Actually nothing. And for years I was blaming my father for finding myself in shipping because he was the one who actually pushed me into studying Maritime Economics at the University of Piraeus. And then it was me and my motivation to actually work in the industry. So after the first year of my studies, I felt really bored. Even though I had amazing tutors, amazing academics, I always wanted to see how shipping is in actual life, in actual time, and how all these amazing market players interact with each other. And this is how I got my first job, even before graduating. And I was really lucky to have two amazing mentors. I think it was the only time in my career so far that I had proper mentors. And they taught me what shipping really is about. They had me present during negotiations. I was working in a small shipbroker office, by the way. So I was present, I was listening to them, the way they negotiated, the way you cultivate relationships with clients, how do you understand the tone of the voice, communication skills, trust skills, because trust is really important in shipping. And I owe to them my admiration for the industry and my path from that little shipbroking office to bigger companies that are known to everybody within the industry. So I moved from different roles, from chartering and safety and security regulations, then to more commercial roles. But I think when my career had a complete shift was when I left Greece and I moved to the UK. And I had the opportunity to work for very well-established broker houses like Banchero Costa or SSY. But there was always something missing. I loved the job, I loved the operations, I loved the dynamics of connecting with other people in the industry. I believe the real shift in my career in shipping happened when I moved to maritime technology, and I had the opportunity to see how these shipping companies, the clients that I had before, see how they work from the inside, understand the pain points, the struggles that each role has, how to analyze the roles, how to analyze the needs and the competencies and tasks before you train them. And this is the moment when I found what was missing from before, which is the training side, the education side. And you know what they say, that you're lucky because you find yourself at the perfect moment with the perfect people and the perfect initiative. This is when in the company was they asked me whether I would be interested in launching Besson University, and of course I jumped on the opportunity. It was the first time that I felt completed in a role, and the first time that I was introduced to the learning and development world beyond the courses. I had the opportunity to create amazing content, collaborate with designers, collaborate with subject matter experts, and see the actual impact of education in the day-to-day life of our clients.
So obviously, you've gone from commercial to education within the industry. How has your perspective changed, and what the needs are for the industry from an educational perspective?
Yeah, that's a great question, because working for shipping companies, I could only see the needs as part of the commercial relationship, working as a broker, I could just hear someone struggling over the phone for the day-to-day needs, or chasing for a hire, chasing for a claim. I couldn't see the background of that need and why that need was not addressed. So moving on to education and studying how to analyze your audiences, how to understand the need behind the need, this is when I realized that the problem was not the knowledge. The problem was that there was a lack of system supporting continuous training, meaning people find themselves into roles and they might have the technical skills, they might have the knowledge, but there are so many other elements that they lack and they're not given the opportunity to cultivate, such as communication skills, soft skills. How do you, as I said before, how do you cultivate trust with your client? How do you establish this long-lasting relationship? It's not just one-off call to fix a vessel, it's an ongoing relationship with your client. And I believe this makes a huge, huge difference.
Yeah. So just thinking about that and your current role at ICS, what have you brought into that role from all your past experiences to shape the education and training there?
As I said before, knowledge is there and the technical skills are there. What is missing and what is really important is the commercial mindset and the opportunities to train people into actual business scenarios. What do I mean by that? As I said, I had the opportunity to collaborate with very important clients, very big names in the industry. And there was a common pattern, there was a continuous theme that, hey, I need someone to be able to deliver the role tomorrow. So once they're hired, they need to be able to perform. And there is also a very common trend nowadays where companies hire people from outside shipping. They want to bring talent from other industries, transfer skills, transfer knowledge and capabilities from other industries. So then this challenge actually is more intense, isn't it? So integrating business scenarios, integrating ways to train someone, educate someone on that specific role makes a difference for them. It adds the commercial mindset. It adds these little and yet huge elements that make the role succeed. In other words, the difference is that do not educate someone for the sake of knowledge, for the sake of education, but educate them for a specific role, address the needs and the challenges of that specific role.
So you're currently also leading the digital transformation for education globally. What are some of your challenges, especially with legacy models, and how do you modernize that to bring education and skills and training into a new way of doing things that sometimes might have had a bit of resistance?
Yeah, I think you already answered the question. I think the biggest challenge in any kind of project implementation that involves digitalization, involves change management, is the human element. And I strongly believe that the way to deal with it is to create environments of psychological safety. Because if people don't feel safe with experimenting with the new tools, safe to make mistakes with the new tools, they're not going to use them. You can buy the best CRM, the best LMS platform, you can buy the best systems, commercial systems that there are now in the market. People will not use them properly. They might use them because they have to, but that's not sustainable. So creating a system of education, an ecosystem of psychological safety and support and continuous development is what can help the organization deal with change management, essentially.
And so where do you see the skills gap? Like, where's the critical skills gap that you've identified that maybe that we need a bit more attention on?
I would definitely pinpoint the digital skills, the skills on working with specific platforms, with digital tools, obviously AI, which is now, it dominates all the conversations in the industry. But also there's a huge opportunity for soft skills. I know I keep talking about it. I keep talking about communication capabilities, communication skills, soft skills. speaking with others, which I know it might sound very common, but there are very, very knowledgeable people in the industry who cannot sustain relationships, and that has an impact in the role and the success they have in that role. So I would say definitely organizations need to invest both on educating, training their people to use all these new platforms and the new digital tools, train them to use AI sustainably with alignment with the company's governance and the company's policies, but equally invest on the human element, what makes us humans. And that's the differentiation in the role. Because at the end of the day, we can all be shipbrokers, we can all be operators. What we bring to the role is something unique to us.
And how, just going back onto that point about the psychological safety and how we build that, what do you think some of the behaviour should be from leadership to ensure there's a psychological safe space for their staff and for them to communicate what it is that the value system is?
Yeah, I think leadership needs to evolve and be present. Given the trends and the reports and the ongoing discussions around leadership nowadays, they need to evolve as they expect the organization and the workforce to evolve, and they need to be present.
Do you think the industry has underestimated the role of structured learning in career progression?
Yeah, that's a great question, actually, Raz. I believe it has, but not on purpose. I believe that in shipping, we have relied a lot on traditional methods of training and essentially on who you sit next to, who's your manager, who's your senior mentor, if that makes sense. And if you have attended some sporadic courses or some workshops, I believe there is lack of structure and lack of vision in terms of learning and development being strategic, being a set of methodologies and a set of tools, essentially being a system, and then a system that integrates informal learning with structured learning methodologies.
And how can education providers support non-linear careers? For example, especially for women who've had to sidetrack from careers, etc.
I'll speak again about psychological safety because it's really, really important for anything around learning and development, anything around professional development. So creating environments where people learn, where people are free to experiment, and they feel that the company is invested actually, that's really important. Also, we can talk about sponsorships, where companies can sponsor for the employees' education or for a qualification or even continuous development plans. But most importantly is for the organizations to realize that it's not education for the sake of education, it's education for performance. So it aligns with the strategic needs, it aligns with the organizational goals. It's not just ticking the box that we delivered a training or a workshop.
Yeah. It's interesting you say that. So when we started Women in Ports, some of the earlier data that we got when we went to the ports was that there was educational training, but then there wasn't an opportunity to practice.
Exactly.
And so it kind of goes hand in hand, doesn't it, when we're looking at education, it's about also providing the opportunity, right?
Yeah.
Just thinking about your time at Western University, can you maybe talk a little bit more about some of the learning from that that we can maybe adapt to today's industry, the maritime industry as a whole, whether it's ports or shipping as a whole?
Yeah, definitely. And that's one of my favorite discussions, to be honest. I consider that project a baby of mine for quite a long time. I believe that our success in that model was that the learning adjusted to the company's needs. And by company, I'm addressing the clients. So it had a purpose, and that purpose was specific. It aligned with learning objectives. It included opportunities to assess the workforce and opportunities to acknowledge, recognize what they learn, combine existing knowledge with a new knowledge, give them opportunities to actually practice what they learned on the job, like in actual life and time. And that was really impactful. We could see even elements of behavioral change around, like, for example, sustainability, which is really, really important in our industry now. It's not just compliance with the regulations. It involves behavioral change, and that behavioral change happens within systems. So I believe analyzing, again, I keep saying that, but it's really important. Knowing who your audience is, it's really important, because then you create something for that specific audience, not something that fits for everybody.
This goes back to our earlier conversation that we were having before we started this about the audience and the clients, you know, and the importance of the needs, right? Now, sometimes when we look at training or opportunities or culture in general, the one that sometimes we struggle with is middle managers, right? And if they don't have the buy-in, the whole system collapses almost, right? How do you translate to middle managers learning into day-to-day leadership?
Okay, I think
leadership behaviors. Yeah.
I think middle managers are heroes. I think they absorb all the shock. If you think about it, they're in between. So they get the pressure from above, from leadership, and they get the reality from below, which is the teams. And they are under continuous pressure to deliver to a certain output, very limited opportunities to experiment with the teams, to give them opportunities to learn, to try new things, new systems, new mindset. And at the end of the day, they are expected to deliver something different, but keep working in the same way.
And just thinking about your career, and because obviously, you know, you do head of education and training here, you have a vast experience in learning and development, but you also do coaching as well. Which learning interventions, formal qualification, micro or coaching, drive the most sustainable behaviour change, do you think?
Do you know why I like this question? Because behavioural change doesn't happen in a moment, and it doesn't rely on one method. It's what I keep repeating, it's a system. And once we define what kind of behavioral change we need in the organization, this is when we know what kind of tools we can use. Like, for example, coaching brings self-awareness. It helps the employee understand where they stand within the ecosystem. It helps them understand their own impact, their own contribution to the role and contribution to the whole organization. Whereas you can integrate micro-learning for daily task shifts, if that makes sense, and then build up that system to make sense for what behavioral change means for that specific organization.
So just going back to the coaching side of it, so you're in the process of completing your ILM level 5 coaching qualification. How has this deepened your understanding of leadership development?
Very. It gave me a completely different perspective. It was the first time that I realized that every leader should be a coach. And it changes the way the leader interacts with the teams, interacts with the workforce. Again, I will bring the term psychological safety into the conversation, because I think it's one of the most important factors that contribute to development within the organization. But coaching, when it's integrated into learning, it can deliver amazing results in terms of performance, in terms of confidence in the role. We see many people, like women, who move from one role to the other, and they know, they have the knowledge, they have the skills, they have whatever the role needs, but they might lack the confidence because they're new to the role or new to the industry, and they need this to not just to deliver the role, but actually succeed in the role. So I strongly believe that coaching can reinforce any learning and development program.
And we spoke about earlier, you also do give complimentary coaching sessions as part of your studies right now, don't you?
Yeah.
So how should one contact you?
You can contact me via LinkedIn. It's part of my, as you said, it's part of my studies. I need to deliver and complete practice hours. It makes me really, really happy. I think it's a very powerful, very dynamic relationship you build with the coachee, and I'm happy to be doing that.
So we're really excited at Women in Ports because this year, 2026, is the year of acceleration, and we're launching our academy, the Women in Ports Academy, which is something that we're super passionate about. How do you see your role in helping us achieve our goals with the academy?
Congratulations, by the way. It's a huge achievement and it's really exciting. I will answer this question the same way I would answer that question to any client I would have in front of me. I always see education from a commercial point of view. I would address what the need is and how we can work together. So perhaps we could co-design a series of workshops or something that makes sense to women in ports. We could deliver together some webinars that have a specific theme or a specific topic, and also help and guide women in ports, or even coach them in terms of choosing the right subject that makes sense for them to transition, perhaps if they want to transition from ports to another role or develop in their own role.
And just thinking about when we were talking about earlier as well about the confidence building, that's something that you mentioned too. How do we build confidence?
By actually being ourselves and doing the job.
Yeah.
If there is an advice I would give to any woman in the industry or to myself, if I had my younger self in front of me, I would say this, like, don't be one of the boys. I mean, we should be honest. I love this industry, but we need to be honest ourselves. It is a male-dominated industry. Mm. So don't be one of the boys. Be yourself. Always advocate for yourself. Don't expect somebody to find you and invest time and efforts on you. If there's no opportunity, create the opportunity. Follow what makes your heart happy. Mm. So if that's operation, do it. If that's leadership, work on it, but never give up on whatever makes you happy.
That's quite true. Being your true, authentic self. It sounds so trivial, but it's so important, right?
Absolutely.
And just when we're looking at capabilities and the capabilities of future female leaders, especially in our industry, what advice would you give to aspiring leaders who want to excel with their career, whether it's technical, whether it's operational, in those leadership roles? What would you say to somebody sitting in front of you who want to excel?
I would say that, many people say we should give women voice. I believe that women have a voice. I believe we should create opportunities and space for that voice to be heard in the industry. And we are lucky enough to have female leaders in the industry. They're not enough, but there is significant difference if you compare it to the past. So I would say that, what I said before, like be yourself. Yeah. Be true to your goal, be true to your passion, whatever that passion is. Yeah. And being a leader, invest in your people.
I love you saying that. That's one of my favorite answers, because I always say, put your money where your mouth is.
Yes.
Women just need investment.
Yes.
We don't need to be told that we can do a job. We just need to put your money where your mouth is. So that's really good. So just thinking about the broader industry outlook and your perceptions, what do you think some of the misconceptions are about the industry and people joining the industry?
I think there is a misconception that having an academic background is enough. Mm-hmm. I believe that this industry is one of the most dynamic industries. It interconnects with other industries, it impacts other industries, and it's also impacted by them. Mm-hmm. So it's a very vivid ecosystem. And that means that somebody, to be successful in that industry, having academic knowledge or just, theory knowledge is not enough.
So as the industry becomes more data-driven and digitally enabled, where do you see the opportunities for talent to lead transformation?
Yeah, that's the £1 million question in the industry right now. And as I told you before, I have observed that companies bring workforce from different industries so that they transfer skills and they transfer knowledge that we don't have with the current workforce. But if I had to pinpoint, I would definitely say roles that have to do with digital transformation. Obviously, we're talking about AI enablement, absolutely sustainability-related roles, whether that's regulation compliance or even strategy around sustainability. And definitely, I know that it might sound not necessary, but I would definitely see opportunities for roles around organizational transformation, organizational structure.
That's good, because this is something that we've been talking about probably throughout the whole conversation about change management, right? So looking back at your career, maritime or non-maritime, what's one of the lessons that you've learned and wish you had known when you started? I mean, we're limited to one.
It's going to sound cliche, but I think that I learned my lessons when I was ready to listen to the teacher. And that teacher is myself within the roles that I had. Looking back, I would definitely say, I would change this, I would have done this differently, and so on. But in reality, if I reflect to my own state within these roles, I think I did the things I did at the time that I was ready to do them. Yeah.
And finally, in 3 words, what should women in ports be?
True, authentic to themselves, definitely strong, resilient, and united, supporting each other.
Thank you so much, Nassia, for being here today and talking all things education. But it's really important subject to talk about how learning and development has changed and evolved to meet the modern needs today. So thank you.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for giving visibility to learning and development in shipping. We definitely need that.
Fantastic.